All right, y'all. Welcome into another episode of Stilettos on the Pavement. Good afternoon. My name is Pete Almeida, one of the hosts, and I am joined by the illustrious co-host, Tamika Garrett. Well, actually, I'm hosting today, and you're co-hosting, so the roles are a little reversed. How are you? Good afternoon. How's it going?
It's going. It's a lot going on. But it's going. It's good.
Yeah. Well, as we know, it's close to Christmas, and we just want to let you know before we get started that today's show is brought to you by Earth Blend Coffee. It's Black-owned roasted coffee right here in the capital city of Jackson, Mississippi. It's just great coffee. You love coffee, pick up a bag today. The link is in the Facebook description box. You can click on the link and support our sponsor, earthblendcoffee.co. It's just great coffee. So we are here in the We Believe Digital Podcast Studios. We're also broadcast on our Facebook, YouTube, as well as on Roku TV. And today we got about 10 days left for Christmas. Until Christmas. Have you got your Christmas shopping done?
Heck no.
Where are you at?
I'm on that Cash App.
Okay, you on the Cash App?
Cash App. My children want that. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I told my son I needed his list, and if he wasn't going to give me the list, then he was just going to get money. So, and he hadn't given me no list, so he just might get a Cash App or a couple of gift cards. But, you know, with holidays, as everybody knows out there, it can be very, very stressful, especially this year because for many people, it's probably the first time in a while that people are going to start getting together more because of COVID. But even with that, there's still a lot of stress and anxiety with gifts and presents and dealing with in-laws. Some people say outlaws and different family members. So the whole question today that we want to talk about to everybody out there is not only how do we survive, because a lot of people just survive the holidays. But I think one of the things that we desire for everybody to do is we want you to really thrive and not just survive the holidays. And so there are certain things out of our scope of expertise, and even though we could probably articulate things we think are good, we wanted to bring on somebody who is actually an expert. He's actually a licensed professional therapist, as well as a women's empowerment coach. And so when she comes on, we're going to talk about how we can help, how all of us can thrive and survive and thrive during this time, because that's exactly what we want you two guys to do during this season. We don't want you to just get through it. And like I said, because of COVID, look, we haven't gotten out of COVID. I mean, people are still wearing masks. There are now new variants of the virus. A lot of people are still out of work. Many people's money isn't still right. I mean, you don't just go through that and then recover just because things have kind of let up still. I mean, we're still in the throes of it. People now are behind on their mortgages and rent because those have been lifted. And I just found out, I think yesterday, President Biden said that the student loans that were on hold, they got to be repaid back. There's no loan cancellation. So anyone out there who has student loans, I'm sorry to tell you, you got to pay back those loans. Yeah, starting in February of 2022. So there's a lot going on. And there's got to be ways and tools and things that you can do, that I can do, to kind of help us to thrive during this time. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So what we'll do real quick is, you want to add something to the conversation?
Yeah, just everything you said is absolutely correct. But also in addition to that, it's the pressures that we put on ourselves with feeling like we have to buy gifts or we have to be present for the next ugly sweater dinner, if you will, or the next whatever that is. You know, if it's a potluck at your job or whatever, and not being able, just learning to be okay with saying, no, you know, I'm not going to be able to make it, or no, I'm not going to be able to purchase that because that purchase may put me behind, you know, that might put me in debt. And so with all of the things, you know, taking care of your health first, and then not being triggered by expectations of other people, and do what you can, because what we have to remember too is the reason for the season. Hello, like people don't talk about that enough, right. And that it's not just about that. It's about, you mentioned COVID and all this other stuff going on, but you know, remembering that it is, I think it's so vital that we begin to spend more time with the people that we love. Absolutely. Because as we saw in the last 2 years, so many people have left. They're no longer here. And I don't want to look, you know, I don't want to look in the future or next Christmas and say, you know, I wish I had spent more time with my nieces, or I wish I would have had coffee with my parents more often. So, you know, if she throws that in the mix too, that's awesome, because that can wear a person down.
Yeah, I think something you said is so important, and I think one of the things you said that was so important is that we got to make time for things that really matter. And I didn't mention it, I'm glad you did. not only the stressors of the holidays, but this is going to be the first or maybe second holiday or first, depending on when it happened, that family members are going to be without a father, a mother, a cousin, a brother. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people's lives that have been lost. And I think it gets lost in because, we just look at the numbers and this many people got infected and this many people passed away. But those people have families. Those people were part of something. Those people had coworkers and friends and children. And those people can't just sit at the dinner table and not think about their relatives. So I got you. So, those things are really important too.
That's true.
So what we're going to do, we're going to bring on our guest now, and we're going to start the conversation so we can get right into it. So our guest today is Marquita Myrick. As I said, I don't know if you heard Marquita, she is a licensed professional counselor, is also a women's empowerment coach. And I think her goal is to create safe spaces so people can heal. And if we ever had a time of healing, we've seen that in the last couple of years. So this is our guest, Marquita Myrick. Good afternoon. How are you? What's happening?
Good afternoon, Pete. Good afternoon, Tamika. I am doing amazing, and I'm so happy to be invited on here today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for taking some time. Everybody's busy. You're busy. I know you have a husband and small kids in school, so we'll just jump right into it. So I don't know if you heard the opening, but we talked about this time just being stressful in general. Some people deal with seasonal affective disorder during this time, but of course the stress of the holidays, and as Tamika pointed, just the pressure to get gifts and to be present for everything and so on and so forth. So my question to you is, being a licensed professional therapist, how do we not only survive but also thrive during this particular time? What things can we do? What agency can we have so that we can actually thrive during this time rather than just kind of get through it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Pete. And I love that you all already pretty much summarized all the issues that people are probably having. The biggest thing I think about when I think about surviving and not just the thriving is like, what areas do you have control in, right? Because a lot of times people say, well, I have to go to my grandma's house, even though the uncle that created some abuse in the family is going to be there. Or I have to go visit my in-laws, or I have to do this or that. And the reality is sometimes we have control in areas where we're not realizing. So the biggest thing is going to be, where can you get some control at? And then creating a plan to make sure you execute that control and not let others take over your holiday experience, basically.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people project their expectations onto you. So the fact that I think people just need to know, hey, I actually do have some control over this. And as Tamika said in the opening, just having the power of no, being able to feel confident and comfortable being like, no, I can't do this, or no, I'm not going to go to Uncle so-and-so or Auntie so-and-so house, because it might be a family member that might trigger some response. So I thought that was a really good response by you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely people that might trigger trauma. And I think the holidays in general are anxiety provoking. Tamika really spoke to this, in this pressure that we have in society to do certain things, to buy the gifts. I know I'm feeling pressure at my children's school. People are like, what are we getting the teachers? What are we getting the paraprofessionals?
Right.
They want to get everyone in the school a gift. And so, and the media and the stores do a great job of preparing us for the next holiday. They jump right from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas. And we see all these things and we're like, oh no, I'm overwhelmed all of a sudden, right? And so what people really need to think about is, what are your coping skills? Are those at the forefront of your mind when you're shopping, when you're visiting family? And on top of coping skills, one big way to cope is to go to therapy. A lot of people go to therapy less during the holiday time because they're trying to save up for gifts. And I understand it, but I do have a few people trickling in saying, hey, I need to get my self-care in before the holidays. I need you to help me prep for these difficult conversations. So that's also important to think about.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that's really, really important to have that therapy. We're going to jump to a commercial in about 30 seconds, but to be able to not be adverse to therapy. And, you and I have talked about this too many times, that people, especially in our community, are adverse to therapy, or it's kind of demonized, or we don't talk about it. But to be able to be proactive, to be able to do it before something happens, like before the holidays get here, so people can actually thrive during the holidays. So when we come back, we want to talk about some coping skills specifically that people can use to help. We'll be right back. That's your commercial? Okay. All right, y'all, we are back with Marquita Myrick, a licensed professional counselor. We've gotten this conversation about how do we thrive, survive, and thrive during the holidays. But I just want to again mention that today's show is brought to you by Earth Blend Coffee, right here, black-owned, roasted in Jackson, Mississippi. Look, it's just great coffee. So the link is in the Facebook description box. Click on the link and support our sponsor at earthblend.co. Okay, Marquita, so we want to talk to you about, and just jump in whenever, Tamika, what specific coping strategies, because I think that's important, right? To be able to have some strategy, some specific things people can do to help them during this time with all these stresses. What specific things have you or can you advise us who are out here watching this, can we do so we can thrive during this season?
Can't hear her.
I don't know what happened to her audio.
Okay, so apparently we're experiencing a little audio technical difficulty right now, but hang tight. Our guy Cedric will be able to fix it, or Pete and I, because we are live, we're going to have to go on until we can get that fixed.
Yeah.
But I hate that though, because she was about to give us some gems that will help us through this, not just the holiday season, but just in life in general. So I will speak on until we get it back where she's able to come back. For me, you guys talked about, counseling, and I have group therapy every freaking Wednesday. It is an hour and 15 minutes. Wow. And I'm so glad that it's before Christmas, because I don't go the other way, like she talked about, not going I go because I know I'm going to have to deal with family. I know I'm going to have to deal with things that, that some things that may be that maybe triggers to me rather. And also just, not to feel the pressure of having to do anything that I don't want to do. I finally got to this point in my life where I do what I want to now, and it took so long to get there, but therapy does help me be able to do that and to stay focused on what's important to me and not listening to what some call expired voices, because it's time out for listening to those people and their advice and things like that, because sometimes I was living my life to please them, and not what I wanted to do. And so I guess, he's still working on getting her back, but can you give them any information on her in case we're not able to come back, like how they can find her, or maybe not?
Yeah, sure. So, and I would just say, I echo what you said. Now, I'll just say before I do that is to be able to have the power, the agency to say no. I think I just give you one of my triggers in many Christmases was finances, was how am I going to buy gifts? And I would put it off, or I would wait, and I'd procrastinate, because it would be such anxiety producing. Like, I'd be paralyzed. Like, I couldn't get a gift. And then at the time, my son was real young, so I always felt like depression. Like, oh my God, I got to get him this, this, and this, because he wasn't with me. He's only with me part-time. So being able to know what your triggers are during this time, I think is very important. And then giving yourself the power to say no, and then having some strategies to know what to do. Like, now, if I feel stress or anxiety, I just take a second, take a breath, and then kind of re-engage. Marquita, we have you back? You here?
Yay!
Oh, here we go. Yeah, we were just talking about our own stories and stuff. So, what we were talking about was figuring out some specific things that people can specifically do that you can advise, hey, these are some things you can do right now to help you when triggers, because everyone has triggers. And the key is, I think, to me, is how do you respond once those triggers are activated?
Right. I love that. And I was hearing a little bit of what you all were discussing, and I could appreciate the transparency. One thing to do before the triggers come, we need to be proactive. And that's the biggest thing we teach in counseling, because oftentimes people think, I had this trigger, and in the moment, it's very hard to turn to the coping skills. So if you're practicing them in general all the time, your brain is going to remember that when you feel like you're in a time of crisis, even if it's like, this is an anxiety attack, it feels like a crisis to me. So what we were saying before I got cut out accidentally was that the grounding skills are really important. It's basically call on your five senses. So if you're around family and you know that this calm scent of lavender helps to calm you down, then have one of those aromatherapy roll-ons, right? So grounding skills in itself is the coping skill, right? It might be something you see. You might tell your partner, hey, when I make eye contact, I need you to look at me. Give me a look, you know. It might be something you feel. Maybe you just need to pick up your child and get a hug real quick, you know. So grounding skills are important. And to learn more about it, definitely just Google grounding skills. And another one that's really important is meditation. It's so calming for the body. You know, some people do it interchangeably with prayer, meditation. I like to combine it, you know, and do one at one point and do meditation at another, because it helps your body come to a point of self-regulation. And another coping skill is to create a plan. I know some people, it can be challenging to see, like, how can creating a plan be my coping skill? Well, you're telling yourself, you're telling your partner, or the people you're traveling with during the holidays, this is my plan for when anxiety comes. This is my plan for when those discomforting conversations happen at the dinner table. I'm going to get up. I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to go take a deep breather. I'm going to go walk around, which brings up exercise being another good intervention. So that is a coping skill in itself, creating the plan that you can utilize when you feel stuck during the holidays.
Those are really good, you know, and let me just add one thing, only because it's what I do. So music plays a big part of my family's life, but certain music will have you all the way up here, you know, turned up, as they say. So I try to listen to a lot of just sounds of the ocean or instrumental jazz and things like that. And it makes a difference. Not only does it make a difference in me, as she was stating, the environment, like setting the tone, right, in the atmosphere, if you will. When someone walks in your house and they're listening to sounds of the ocean versus hardcore, heavy metal, or rap, they even are changed instantly. Their behaviors are different. What they were going to say to you, their tone may be a little bit different, you know. And so I listen to gospel in the mornings when I wake up. I turn on gospel so that my girlfriend and I can, you know, be in a space where it changes us instantly. I don't want for you to leave without giving people, because you have given some really good things today in this short period of time. I want them to be able to reach out to you on all platforms. So if you share that with us, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. I'm on Instagram at Marquita Myrick LPC, and I'm now on TikTok showing a little bit of dance moves, adding that with therapy. I'm on TikTok at Therapy Insight.
Okay, Therapy Insights. Okay, and where are you located for those who might think that you're here in Jackson with us?
Yeah, I'm based in Tampa, Florida, but I'm licensed in Colorado, Florida, and Georgia. So I can see people who are residents of either of those states. Thank you for asking that.
Okay, perfect. Because I know that they would want to know.
Yeah, no, it's important to follow up and see. And before we get out of here, I want you to just briefly mention her. But I echo the 5 senses. I think that's important. Like, one thing at my house that me and Tasha do is we are big on scents. So if you come to my house today, you will see there's a teakwood candle burning right now. And it's big, and it sets the atmosphere. And I think, like you said, I think in the midst of all this busyness and parties and people and commercials and everything we're being bombarded with, can we create a space of silence, right? Because I think that's countercultural. Everyone's telling you, go do this, party, do this, hang out with these people. But can we intentionally create a space of silence? And I think that what you said was so important about being proactive. I think a lot of times we're so reactive, but having a plan beforehand. So when this happens, I'm going to do this. When this happens, I'm going to do this. As opposed to reacting in the minute. It's hard to react in a minute. Like you said, it's hard to recall those coping skills in the moment. You know what I mean? So I think that's really, really, really important. You know, I know, but a lot of people out there don't know you. Tamika doesn't know you, neither does Cedric. So I wanted you to talk briefly before we get out of here about the Healing, Elevated, and Restored coaching program that you do. Because not only is Marquita a licensed therapist, and you do see clients, and she does have a real license from a real degree from a real university, but you also have a coaching program. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you empower women to deal with some of the mental blocks that they have, the limiting beliefs, as you said? Because I think that's really important too. And it's great work.
Yes, thank you for
Yeah, absolutely.
asking. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Pete. To start off, what I'm going to say about the program is something that you said in the beginning about the holidays, helping people not just survive, but thrive. And that's my tagline for the Becoming Her coaching program, is that I really want to help women survive or thrive and not just survive in life, because a lot of us are just doing that day to day, just making it. And so it's for women who really need some help with mindset, some women who really need some emotional healing. So it's not therapy, but we do tap into emotions. We don't go deep into childhood. And so we do the mindset, the healing, and we really work on building healthy levels of self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for the woman who really looks good on paper. She's successful. And I don't even care if you're a stay-at-home mom. To me, you look really good on paper because I'm also a stay-at-home mom, right? You're doing all the things. Everybody thinks you have it together and everybody gives you that feedback, but you don't feel it. You really feel like an imposter. You have imposter
Mm-hmm.
syndrome and don't feel like you're thriving. So that's the woman who it's for. It's 6 weeks of personal coaching with me in a group setting, and then there's a presentation and live coaching. So it's been amazing. Thank you so much for asking me about it, and people can find out more about it on marquitamyrick.com.
Well, awesome, man. I know you're adding so much value to people. I appreciate you. I was telling Tamika how I met some years ago. Appreciate you. I know this year coming up is going to be your greatest year, even greater than last year. Continue to make an awesome impact. You're a great person, a great mother, an amazing wife, and a great business person. And you're really helping women, especially people and women in our community, to thrive and become all of what they created to be. So thank you so much for taking time out to appear. We worked through the kinks, and it was an abbreviated show, but we appreciate you taking time out. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year. Appreciate you so much. You know we'll be in touch. We'll talk soon.
Pleasure to see you.
You too. Thank you all so much.
Merry Christmas. Be safe out there, okay?
You too.
All right, thank you. Well, that was quick.
That was quick.
But
So
the value of it was so rich.
Oh, yeah. And they can go back and then, find her platforms and her website for that
Please
program,
do.
which is, great. I just want to encourage everyone, that have a safe and happy holiday season. Thank you guys for supporting us so far. We have great things in store for next year.
Great. Guys, have a great rest of your day.